I will first go to transaction WB03. WB01, 02, 03 are this transactions for create, display, create, change, and display your store details. I'm going to, yeah. Before S4, the stores were always called as stores, and after S4, SAP has decided to stay back with its own old term of plant. So whenever I say plant, store, I'm meaning the same thing. Okay, site, plant, and store, all of these mean the same thing. This transaction is specific only for IS Retail WB 01, 02, and 03, and this transaction is not available in any other SAP ECC components or S4 components or even normal components. So if I'm not sure if there is a plant already available. Okay, I am opening this store which already is available. So plant is always a 4-digit code. The code can be alphanumeric. Okay. So the moment I open this plant, you will be able to see a customer and okay, the person whoever have created this, they haven't created a vendor here. So the plant is always associated with the customer and vendor object. Vendor is not mandatory, whereas customer is mandatory. Okay. The reason why customer is mandatory is one more information. When we say store, let's take M&S itself. Wherever we as customers, we walk into a store and we buy stuffs, right? In M&S, those are called as stores. And in that case, where we buy the materials from them or where we buy the products from them, they are our vendors, right? Vendors to the actual customers. In that case, yeah. In that case, they play the role of vendors. The plant plays the role of vendors. Okay. Whereas when it replenishes the material from the distribution center, from warehouse only, they have to get the materials into the stores, right? In the cases where it gives or gets the materials from the warehouse, in that case, it plays the role of a customer.
To warehouse, it's a customer.
Yeah, to
right?
warehouse, it is a customer. Yeah, to us, it is actually a vendor.
Vendor, yeah.
Yeah. So is this clear now why it has 3 different roles? And the reason why SAP has designed the plant as a plant structure is that for all the logistical processes, it has to have the structured plant, right?
Yeah.
You want to keep your storage location and keep your products in a specific plant, and if it has to be placed in a specific place, it has to have the storage location, and if it has to have the all the logistical processes in its place, logistical executions are to be set, then it has to have the plant structure. That's why SAP has designed in such a way that the plant object have 3 different combinations, which is the plant, customer, and vendor combination. Okay. Okay. We are in WB03 transaction now. The first screen shows us about the purchase org and sales org relevant information for the store. Purchase org is not mandatory, whereas sales org and distribution channel and the company code to which the plant is associated is mandatory. According to the standard SAP setup, a plant can belong only to one company code, and that's why it is belonging to only one company code. But it is not mandatory that the plant belongs to only one specific distribution chain. It can belong to n number of different distribution chains. It depends on your business again.
Plant to company code is always one-to-one.
Yes, plant to company code is always. Let's take the company code as country, okay? I will also go back to my screen. Yeah, if a store is belonging to one country, it can always belong to one company code, right? Company code is always the general ledger account. A store can do its operations only in one specific place, which basically means that it is confined to do its business in only one specific transactional or currency code, and that's why it belongs always to a one company code. It has a lot of meaning under why it belongs to only one company code, but on a higher level, it can do its business only in one place, and it is restricted to do its business only in one place, and that's why it belongs to only one company code. So you'll be able to see the organizational relevant information for a specific plant in this place. Valuation and inventory management is another tab which explains you about the valuation area, and grouping code, and inventory management profile also plays a major role. I will also tell you about how why inventory management profile is important. This inventory management profile tells you about how the inventories can be managed in a specific plant. A few organizations deal the inventories on the material group level or a material hierarchy level. A few organizations handle their inventories based on distribution chain level. A few organizations handle their inventories based on the materials level, but there could also be exceptions possible. But on an overall level, it is always the 001 transaction that is being used. So that is very important. And sales or retail price is always this is again a config. I will show you to you in the configurations. So look through the informations that we are having in valuation inventory management, and these are not really much important to begin with, but when you look and work through the deeper concepts of how the stores are being handled specific to organizations, it is important to understand these concepts. So this is the tab for valuation and inventory management. And listing and materials planning, how the listing happens. Listing is also another important concept. I will also add that. I was telling you about the assortments, right? I should also add listing. Both listing and assortment means the same thing, in almost means the same thing, but there is a very small or minute difference between the listing and then the assortment process. I will explain you that. But how this listing process is going to happen is explained in here. Listing procedure is the major difference, and we will also see this listing procedure when we talk about the assortment processes. So if you see here, there are many different listing procedures that are available in the system, and out of which how we are going to list the materials to a specific store is determined by this key. Okay, listing without classification. Most of the times people use organizations use a listing without classification because they don't really want to look through whether a material is relevant for a specific distribution chain or not when they do it for the stores level. It again depends
Sorry,
on what kind of setup. Sorry.
sorry. Can you? I am lost. Can you repeat what it is? Subsequent this listing,
Yeah.
and I'm not getting it.
So what was I saying was the listing procedure determines how your materials are being sold in a specific store. Okay. Or
Mm-hmm.
how the materials are being made available in a specific store. There are multiple levels of checks that happens in the system before a material can be made available in a specific store. System cannot just like that go ahead and assign a material in a specific store without doing a lot of checks. So it does a lot of checks. What are the checks or procedures that it has to do before a material being assigned to a store is what this option talks about.
Okay.
So this
So,
is listing procedure. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
and this has to be, we have to configure somewhere in the configuration this listing profile, and then we need to assign it here and
Yeah,
create it.
it is mostly available, configured. All the options that you're seeing right now are already standardly available. If you want very much anything specific for it, you'll have to go for your customization. Otherwise, the standard listing procedures are already available in the system.
Okay.
Yeah, we will also look through this listing procedure setup when we see about the assortments. And subsequent listing possible or not, this is also one important factor, and this also we will see when we are talking about the assortments. There are only three possible options available for subsequent listing. One is no subsequent listing, error is being processed, and next is allowing the subsequent listing. Third is the manual decision. This determines whether a material which is already available for the specific store can be listed one more time even the period is over, or if it will be ended in only one assignment or not is being determined by this subsequent listing process. We will also look through this when we are talking about the assortments. Underneath this, we also have something called as listed articles and assigned assortments. So in this tab, we will be able to see what list of materials are listed to this specific plant. If I click on this, these are the list of materials that are available and assigned to this specific plant in the system. Okay, you will be able to see that. But MARC is the transaction. MARC is the transaction where we will be able to see the assigned materials specific to a plant. So whatever list that you are able to see here, we will also be able to see in MARC.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I will also start listing out the tables that you will have to be concentrating upon, so it will be a little easier for you. You should understand how these tables are getting populated. That is the prime important factor. You know about Mara table.